What is going on, my fellow Americans? So today we're doing a kind of overview of the Florida Senate race between Bill Nelson and Rick Scott. And this Senate race will answer the top question that many Floridians have. And that is, how are the Miami Dolphins actually 4-2? I mean, they're tied with the Patriots right now. I can't handle this. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a Patriots fan, so I'm sure I'm going to get dislikes on that comment alone. But back to the Florida Senate race, Bill Nelson and Rick Scott. This is going to be one of the key races to decide control of the Senate this year. And besides Ryan Fitzpatrick, this one I have no idea what's going to happen. Alright, that's 2 football jokes in like 30 seconds. Now it's getting sloppy. So now, on to the Senate race. So in Florida, based on the Gallup poll that I've done a few times, Florida breaks down to 42% Democrat, 39% Republican, and 19% independent or unenrolled in different parties. The last time Bill Nelson ran for Senate was in 2012. He won with 55.2% of the vote to 42.2% of the vote, so it wasn't a close race at all. It was a 13-point margin, and Bill Nelson pretty much won this state handedly. Now back in 2016, a flip from how it was before, with Bill Nelson and Obama winning in 2012, President Trump won Florida in 2016 with 49.02% of the vote to Hillary Clinton's 47.82% of the vote. So this is much more what Florida is usually in presidential politics. It's always very close, usually within 3%. And Trump won this, but he won by a little over 2%, around there. 1.8%, I believe, if you do the math. I'm probably wrong in that, but feel free to let me know. But yeah, very tight, very contested. And this is usually what races in Florida are. And that's why I think it's going to be like this time around as well. It's going to be another close race. So the reason I've been saying it's going to be a close race is because the recent polling data from Real Clear Politics shows as of, what's today, October 20th, this race is statistically tied. 46.3 for Scott, 46.3 for Nelson. This race has gone back and forth a few times, and with only 19 days remaining to the midterms, we're not sure now. No idea. And, oh wait. Oh, I don't think it's 19 anymore. It's either 19 or 17. Yeah, I think it's 17. Anyway, whatever, I can't count. What else is new? All I can say is apparently I can't count and I'm bad at math. So let's get back to talking about the polls. So, the 3 most recent polls, the most recent one is Rick Scott up to 49 to 47. And I'll get back to this one because this is the most relevant poll in my mind. The 2 previous before that show Nelson both up with 44 to 45 and 46 to 47. The reason I think the most recent poll is the more relevant one is because for a few reasons. Number one, this was taken only a few days ago. So obviously it's more relevant, fresh in our minds. Number two, I believe this is the first one to come out after Judge Kavanaugh being confirmed. And when you look at the polling size, that's close to 2,000 people. Usually, as the more people you poll, the more accurate it gets. So, nearing almost 2,000 people, that shows Rick Scott up, compared to 800 that shows Nelson up 1. Usually the more data indicates that the higher percentage of voters gives the more percentage of like the likelihood of winning. And I think the state of the race that it says is Rick Scott is ahead. And since Rick Scott took the lead, because early in the race Bill Nelson was leading, and then Rick Scott took the lead when it was like 45% to him, then 39% to Bill Nelson, because there was a lot of undecideds left. Then Bill Nelson took the lead back. And now it looks like Rick Scott's regained it. So what has changed? Florida, I think there's 2 things that has changed in Florida so far. The first one, actually there's a few things that could have changed. The reason that Rick Scott went up was because his popularity as governor was the all-time high. Then I think as it went down, it could be because of the red tide scandal that happened in Florida. Also, another reason for why it went up for Rick Scott was the first hurricane Florida had. That was another reason why he was ahead. And then he went down. And then Judge Kavanaugh, that whole situation, and also the most recent hurricane, I think has made his numbers go back up. Because in the poll, 61% of the people agreed with how Rick Scott handled the hurricane situation and the recovery. And when people go to vote, if that's still fresh in their minds, that's definitely going to help out Rick Scott. Because as a governor, you're more hands-on in a state where you currently reside compared to a U.S. senator like Bill Nelson. So that's what's been helping Rick Scott, and I think that's most likely to help him on election day. So I'm going to stop right there. Before I announce who the winner of the race is going to be, or I predict who it's going to be, I need to get more subscribers, right? I want to keep making content for you guys. I know it's great. It's great to see all your comments in the comments section, whether it be I think you're right, or I like your prediction, or why you're doing this, that's wrong, or I think this and that. I need to see the comments keep going. I want to see the likes keep going, and I want to see the subscriptions. I think we have 6 right now. I think I said last video, I think we can get up to 10. I really believe we can get up to 10. And also, if you subscribe right now, then you can come back, watch the rest of the video, and I'm not going to put this at the end. Once the video is done, my prediction's done, just end the video. So I'm putting the subscribing thing now, so hopefully you'll subscribe and come back. Alright, now let's get on to the prediction. So, when it's all said and done, I do think Rick Scott, the current Republican governor of the state of Florida, will be the next senator. And I think he will win with a very, very slim margin. I think he will win with 49.2% of the vote to 48% of the vote. The reason I'm adding in decimals like that for some of these races is because I add the decimals when I think it's going to be really, really close. And the reason I think it's going to be close is because this is Florida. It's always going to be close. And you see that whether it's Obama in 2012 or Trump in 2016 or a very, very prevalent one, Bush versus Gore in 2000. Whenever one candidate beats another candidate, it's always close and decimals always have to be used. Rick Scott seems to always underperform in midterms or whenever he's up for re-elections. And this time, he's been polling at around, well, the average is 46.3, so technically he'd be polling up this time. But I think that most recent poll of 49 to 47 is probably the most likelihood. I think Rick Scott will be around 49%. I do think Bill Nelson will get around 48, though. I think he'll go up a little bit and make it more interesting and more close. Because I feel like there's a lot of undecided vote. But another key issue that I can't stress enough that will probably determine this race is also the governor race. The state of Florida, it's very split in terms of partisanship. Like I said, 42% Democrat, 39% Republican. And usually whichever candidate votes for Senate, they'll also vote for governor. So this race, whichever race the people of Florida feel more passionate about, whether it's the Senate race or the governor race, it will most likely influence the other one. So I'm saying this now. If Rick Scott wins the Senate race, I do think Ron DeSantis will also be the next governor. And if I'm wrong that Bill Nelson does get reelected, then I think Bill Nelson would have gotten reelected because Andrew Gillum is the next governor. So basically, if Rick Scott wins, that helps out Ron DeSantis. If Andrew Gillum wins, that helps out Bill Nelson. So I think it's more about which side can bring their base out and turn out more voters for their side. So that has been my prediction for the Florida Senate race. Thank you so much for watching. As I mentioned earlier, please like, subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Leave a comment below, and I'll see you in the next one.